It's the weirdest Hart conversation there's ever been. And I was saying before the show, my issue with the Hart conversation is if you put a gun to my head and said, who's the Hart winner? I probably would have an answer, but largely, I'm not sure. We'll do a little thing on Connor Hellebuyck right now because you were watching the Avs Jets game. I watched some of it before dipping out. The broadcast said that it was a showdown of the top two Hart candidates.
Yeah, it was more aggressively put than that. I think that one of the guys on the Avs broadcast said that if the season ended today, it would be a 2-horse race between Nathan MacKinnon and Connor Hellebuyck for Hart. To which I responded, shut the fuck up.
There's been
God, I'm exhausted by the Hart discussion already because every time it's come up, it has been one of us or both of us being completely exasperated at the narrowing of it down when it doesn't need to be narrowed down. First, it was Kirill Kaprizov, but ultimately, it's always Leon Draisaitl who is not being considered, which is insane to me because he would be the leader in my clubhouse.
Yeah, this is a year in which the big headline topics present themselves, and I'm like, nah, I don't want to do that. I don't want to talk. I can't spend. I'm gonna just lose my fucking mind if I do this. It's Connor McDavid hit chat. It's the weirdest Hart conversation there's ever been, and I was saying before the show, my issue with the Hart conversation is if you put a gun to my head and said, who's the Hart winner? I probably would have an answer, but largely, I'm not sure. And that is such a better answer than anybody else's answer to who is the Hart winner so far this year, because everything has been so emphatic and so narrow-minded.
And like, why are you trying to make it less interesting?
Yeah.
It's a really interesting year for the Hart discussion, and it seems like everybody's trying to downplay it or narrow it to a less interesting case. And specifically with Hellebuyck, I have pushback on, I think he's having an unbelievable season, and he should get some consideration. Ultimately, when you have several other skaters who are making really strong cases for a Hart candidacy, and you have a goaltender who is not completely saving his team and bailing out his team, which, like, obviously any great goaltender who is having as good a year as Connor Hellebuyck is bailing out his team to a certain degree. But the Winnipeg Jets are also third in the league in goal scoring. So it's not like this is a completely unworthy team that he is dragging to relevance, which he's been in that spot in the past. He's just having a really good year for a goaltender. He's absolutely going to be the Vezina winner, I think. But I don't know if I consider him strongly enough for Hart to call him the second in a 2-horse race.
Not to pile on this broadcaster, but Hellebuyck to me is an easy Hart winner if some things change. And basically the big if with him, as there is an if with MacKinnon, can he just stop getting a bunch of empty net assists? Cool stat line, bro. Love you, Nathan MacKinnon. With Hellebuyck, if his team is incompetent down the stretch and they end up one of the top 2 teams in the Pacific, that seems really Hart to me. But that's not what's happened so far. His team is not incompetent. His team scores goals. His team does other stuff. They're getting great goaltending, and they're also scoring goals. Are they a perfect team? No. Are they a lot better off because they have Connor Hellebuyck? Of course. But that can be said for any team with a Hart candidate.
Yeah, and they're not like bleeding defensively either. So, like, this is a team that is scoring a bunch and defending moderately well with great goaltending. Unfortunately, for all goaltenders, including Connor Hellebuyck, you usually don't win Hart unless you are the sole reason your team is relevant.
We need to have a segment on the show. Famously, I'm not a Hart voter anymore. Used to be, not to brag. I used to snub Erik Karlsson like it was my job. We need to do like a speed round where we line up like 5 Hart voters back to back to back to back. And we just switch from 1 to 1 to 1 to 1, and then dump them when we're done and just be like, hey, you don't think it's just like, your mind isn't made up, right? You don't think it's obvious, right? Okay, just wanted to make sure. Next person. You don't think this is just like an obvious slam dunk thing, right? and just move. It'll be great radio, great television, great podcasting. I need to know that nobody is dead set on one person right now. Because as you said, if there is one obvious person, it's the only person that no one's even talking about. And I'm fine if you don't have Leon Draisaitl as your Hart winner. I think it's an open conversation. I just need to know that people are making it an open conversation if they're not just picking one guy.
Yeah, and like if you're going to do the like, well, he's the most valuable to his team sort of angle, in which case, like maybe you take off Draisaitl, maybe you take off, I don't know who else you take off in that
MacKinnon,
case.
Maybe, but he is the most valuable to his team.
He sure is.
Yeah.
But that argument, I think, ultimately lands on Quinn Hughes.
Yes, I agree. I think they would be Hughes, or if you're doing most valuable to their team, it's Hughes, and then you try to wedge Hellebuyck in there, but you can't ignore that they're like he's not scoring goals for them.
No, especially when you look at across the league, he is not performing up to some of his peers.
Oh,
Nedeljkovic got points. Decord got points. Gustafsson got points. We're talking goalies contributing on both ends of the ice. That's the new standard.
We all silly like the mayor.